Hello, my name's Michael Conneely, and this is my channeling of the heart energies and meaning of the exceptional energies of April 2020. And actually, this is part one of our 10-part astrology and healing newsletter for April 2020. So, what I want to do is express what conclusion I've come to as the heart meaning of these exceptional times for me, and that may be of interest or use to you. So basically, as the coronavirus situation has grown, and as the astrological energies have grown, the difficult ones that pervaded 2019 and have risen to crisis level in 2020, strategies are needed. And certainly in the earlier blogs and videos I did during 2019 and very early 2020, I did feel I spoke of the Saturn-Ketu conjunction of 2019 cutting away at our scripts for areas of our life that were wrong for us. And then that was replaced by the huge Saturn-Pluto conjunction. And that basically I interpret as an energy which causes us to have to consider our situation, assess the tensions that have been building through 2019 and still are here, and develop a strategy. And so Saturn and Pluto are the energy expressions. Saturn, structure and form. Pluto, energy burst, either negative energy or very high transformative energy. And so I saw like a manifestation of the Saturn-Pluto energy as each of us needing to decide our strategy forward and in a sense be like a knight carrying the Holy Grail forward. The Grail, the cup, is Saturn, the structure, and in it the contents is the energy of Pluto. And because Pluto is involved, there may well have to be a death and rebirth experience. There may well have to be a shedding of burdens that we carry, a descent into the abyss. But the purpose and the outcome of that, like Inanna's descent into the underworld, is that we will be lightened, and so we can arise from the abyss and experience Pluto's energy as the divine energy, which now more able is to flow into and reach our crown chakra. So I feel there's a need for practical focus and sacred priority. And so in my case, I've found that my sacred priority and practical purpose has to involve me riding two horses forward. I have to continue building an extension to the back of our house, the first of two, for Airbnb use, which is income that we need and will support my Sacred West of Ireland tours. But I also, of course, so want to and have to continue my astrology and my spiritual courses and teaching. So I'm having to ride two horses forward and have to come to accept that and centre on it, whilst, of course, maintaining other very important priorities of sort of marriage, family, home and all that sort of thing. But there's been a new development. Now there's total lockdown in Ireland, and basically we're supposed to stay at home. We can go to the supermarket or the pharmacy, and we can go a short distance for exercise. But it has meant of focus in the home. And that, I believe, has brought out the need to realise maybe what's even the deeper meaning of these times. And this is what I've channeled. So I believe what's emerging as the deepest meaning for these times, which certainly for me and maybe for everybody, maybe for you, is actually a sense of vision quest. For many, and certainly for us, this is a new time of more quiet and focus. And I think inevitably we can and should identify who we are at this time. And there should be self-redefinition where we see and realise that that is needed. So in a sense, this has to be a time for surrender, emptiness and patience. This has to be a time for sincere search for meaning and authenticity and openness to inspiration and openness to healing. And certainly there have been very good healing energies so far in 2020, particularly at the time of the new and full moons, as well as the horrific lockdown energies and the insidious vast spread of the virus. And so as we do indeed open to having a lifestyle and a mindset that makes Vision Quest more possible, we might well perceive there are scripts from our past that we actually need to let go of. And so we shouldn't be a control freak and say, I do not move. We shouldn't hang on to these scripts. If our situation seems to be confirming us in a dysfunctional pattern, realise that that actually denies the beauty your life might be capable of. I've been overwhelmed with sort of astrology reading requests and, course student reports. So many people are going through very considerable transformations, meltdown of job, meltdown of home, huge geographical moves. And we shouldn't just concentrate on the nitty-gritty and the surface phenomenon. I feel that the greater quiet that the lockdown offers actually opens us to Vision Quest. And indeed, the last couple of days, Maggie and I have walked, within our outing mileage limit, to the beach that's a mile from our house. And there's a river flowing at the bottom of our garden, and just before that river joins the Atlantic Ocean, there's a sort of sacred grove there that had a hermit 1,000 years ago, and anciently far more sacred energies. And then there's the most wonderful beach where one can look across to Donegal, to Sleeve Mountain, and then to the right to Ben Bulben, Ben Wisken and Knocknarea. And there I was on the beach doing a Vision Quest about what definitions of me do I need to let go of now? What qualities do I need to grow in me? And how will I go about doing it? Embodiment is a big thing, I think. Affirmation, but also healing techniques. We've had wonderful healings lately from the Lecker antenna that is so good at measuring energies of rocks and the land, but also places like homes and also human beings, not only measuring but healing. And I did a blog about that recently. So all this arises out of a quietening, and quietening can allow vision quest. Who am I? What is the ideal nature of my life? So what I'm saying is we mustn't be too stuck. We may have to let go of our opinions and our scripts and our judgments at this time. We mustn't at this time be cut off from our embodiment being in our body. And we mustn't be cut off from the earth. It is so wonderful what the earth offers that urban environments deny. Maybe we've been embracing some formula as a spiritual system, which gives an illusion of spiritual completeness. And I think we have to very carefully examine whether that's happening to us. I mean, certainly, well, for example, I feel, say, rosary groups are actually what Jesus would call, very often, not always, but very often what Jesus would call whited sepulchres. So many formulaic spiritual systems are spiritual bypass. So many spiritual paths are actually badges we wear to justify dysfunctional behaviour. We say, oh, it's my religion requires me to be so horrible, and So this is the time of increased quietness when, I beg with all of us to look at these sort of issues. Continued stability isn't an option now, not with the astrological energies that there are now. We have to develop our vision and our connection. We have to let go of our negative scripts now. We have to embrace a better identity and the needed strategies forward. So we really and truly do need to put aside time now to embark on quest for vision as to the nature and identity of the more real me. And we need to do this with total commitment and with creativity. There has to be an honest and deeper sharing in our relationships, all of them. And the spiritual practice we are following may have to be thrown in the bin if it's actually confirming us in something that's not good for us. Because if we don't embrace the more vibrant healing and spiritual path now, well, we'll actually just be left like a robot repeating the mantra, or a control freak handing out the rules, barking the commands, justifying our treatment of others even if it's unloving. Now, an important point is there will be moments of panic and fear at these times. It's the nature of Saturn to be associated with fear, and Saturn is so powerful now ever since Saturn entered Vedic Capricorn in January. We may well feel that the familiar is just being a rug pulled from under our feet, stripped from us, nothing withheld. So we have to be prepared and open to be reborn. We have to be open to the vastness and create, yes, vision quest moments and times when that openness can happen, and when the ego and the day-to-day affairs can be pushed aside, and we can be fed by the earth and develop vision therefrom, and indeed, healing of tensions in our body and all that sort of thing. So in some ways we may feel we're in limbo now, but we mustn't just rehash the old mind scripts. We mustn't just continue the old useless patterns. We may have to face pain now, in which case we have to go through it. We have to abide in it. There may be, healing modalities that can greatly help us. There may be vision journeys that can greatly help us, like journeys to the abyss, I find very helpful. But we have to deal with pain. We cannot simply leave it lingering. So a major shift is called for now. You can't run from it. We can't postpone it. We can't do robots. Well, we can, but... So we need to check out the reality of our life now. We need to check out the structures of our life now and demolish the old ruins. We do need to put aside time now to let the awareness grow. It's the ideal time to become someone new now. Very tense times, so starting something new has to be done carefully so as to avoid overload. It might have to be deferred or done very gently. So what guidance do we get from astrology? Well, what's happening in the Vedic sign of Capricorn is unparalleled. Saturn, Pluto, Mars and Jupiter gathered there. Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter haven't been there in the sign of Capricorn since 1284. Well, it became exact January 1285, I seem to remember. Vedic astrology offers wonders. Understand your dasha or predictive period and the sub-periods. That gives such guidance as to what you need to let go of and what you need to focus on. Contact me for a reading if you want help on this. Check out particularly maybe the energies of Chiron, Uranus and Neptune, as well as Pluto, of course. The nakshatras of Vedic astrology are supreme. That's the 27 sign lunar zodiac. And when you have a planet in a particular nakshatra that gives such peerless guidance as to your emotionally based consciousness and behaviour patterns, warts and all. And of course we need to maximise the better traits of each nakshatra and minimise the bad ones. Healing is very necessary now, and of course at this time of lockdown often online healing is very useful, and as part of the parts of this April astrology Starwheel astrology healing and newsletter for April, my wife Maggie Pashley has done a video and blog on the online healings that you can have, and they're at least as powerful often as the face-to-face ones. Obviously certain modalities must be done face-to-face or hands-on, but they aren't so possible now because of lockdown. Indeed, astrology can be a good guide to the identity changes and the healing you might need to do now. And I always find it so wonderful to study the divine nature of each planet. So every planet is a face of the divine, but of course we humans experience it through filters of sign, house and aspect. Vedic astrology is a sort of destiny, an incarnational life purpose statement, whereas Western astrology is a psychological statement. Tropical zodiac based on the position of the sun, a depiction of our egoic self. But I always combine both of them. So for the sun, what is the standing of your sun in your astrology charts? You see, the sun is the king of the kingdom. He's the divine charioteer that drives the chariot of self forward. And in his hands he holds the reins that go to the horses that pull the chariot of self forward, where of course these horses are the other planets. How well do you drive your chariot of self forward? To certain planets give FUs to the charioteer and pull the chariot all over the place and even derail it or run it over other people. Is your sun strong enough? Conversely, is your sun overbearing? But it's so wonderful to perceive that beyond these mundane, not quite right experiences of a planet is a divine statement of the planet. So have a reading or do a course where I express these and analyse your chart for you. Jupiter, Guru, purpose and blessing, that's the divine nature of Jupiter. How are we handling that? There's wonderful techniques within both Vedic astrology and also Western psychodynamic astrology. So in Vedic astrology, there's wonderful techniques that I can tell you about in a reading or teach you in one of my online courses on my Master Vedic Astrology website. All of them are correspondence courses, but with the option of online video face-to-face backup sessions as well. So Rashi Avashtas can teach us how our planets treat each other. That is such an eye-opener. And this is the time to have your eye-opener and try to heal and change patterns that need to be healed and changed. Now is the time. Now we have the space to go on our vision quest and perceive ourselves,